8th meeting of the Cabinet Scrutiny Committee on the 24th of November. Just to make you all aware, today's meeting will be recorded. Can I also welcome any members of the public and press to today's meeting? Can I kindly ask you to observe the meeting only and not speak or participate? Can I please remind you all to switch your phone to silent for the duration of the meeting? In addition, can I refer you to the protocols for remote meeting which have been previously circulated? Your microphone should be switched to mute unless you are speaking. Should you wish to ask a question or make a comment, can you please indicate either by the chat function or by raising your electronic hand by team? I will assume that you have all read the paperwork before us today prior to the meeting. Please only use the chat function to indicate if you wish to speak as an alternative to the electronic hand function or to raise any technical issues. When asking a question, can you please indicate which page number you are referring to? Okay, the first item on the agenda is to do a roll call. I am Councillor Saifur Rahman, the chair, and I am present. I will now call on Chloe, the Democratic Service Officer, to take the roll call. Chloe, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've marked you as present. Councillor Sharon Freegard.
Present.
Councillor Wyndham Griffiths.
Present.
Councillor Nigel Hunt.
Present.
We've had apologies from Councillor Steve Hunt. Councillor Dennis Keogh. Apologies from Councillor Simon Noyle and Councillor Alan Llewellyn. Councillor Sandra Miller.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Rydia Maisen.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Suzanne Paddison.
Present.
We've had apologies from Councillor Lynette Purcell. Councillor Sheila Penry.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Sonia Reynolds.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Rachel Taylor. Councillor Arwyn Wilcock.
Is present.
And Cabinet members, Councillor Edward Latham.
Yeah, present, Chloe.
Councillor Leanne Jones.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Carol Clement Williams. Councillor Mike Harvey.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Doreen Jones.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Alan Lockyer.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Peter Rees.
Present, Chloe.
Councillor Peter Richards.
Present, Chloe.
And Councillor Annette Wingrave. And then officers.
Sorry, Chloe. Annette gives her apologies.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. And then officers Karen Jones.
Present, Chloe.
Andrew Thomas.
Present, Chloe.
Andrew Jarrett.
Present.
Nicola Pierce.
Present, Chloe.
Hugh Jones.
Yeah, present, Chloe.
Mike Shaw.
Yes, here, Chloe. Thank you.
Nicole Blackmore.
No apologies, Chloe. Thank you.
Karen Furlow Harris. Jane Woodman Ralph.
Present, Chloe, and Councillor Carol Clement Williams is here as well.
Okay, thank you. I'll mark her as present. Have I missed any officers who are participating in today's meeting? No, I think.
Chloe, forgive me, Mr. Chair. I think Councillor Rachel Taylor was in the pre-briefing, unless I'm mistaken. Is she?
She's not in the meeting. I've just checked the attendance. She's not in the meeting yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. That's the roll call complete.
Okay, thank you, Chloe. The next item on our scrutiny agenda is Chair's announcement. At our pre-briefing, we have chosen to scrutinize item 4 and item 6 on the cabinet agenda. However, I have had a request of Councillor Nigel Hunt, who wishes to ask a question on item 5. Councillor Hunt, can I confirm if this is correct, please, so I can add this item to the list?
Yes, this is correct, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So item 5 will now be added to our list of items that we wish to scrutinize. The next item is a declaration of interest, item number 3 on the cabinet scrutiny agenda. Can members please indicate whether they have any declaration of interest in relation to any of the items that we have chosen to scrutinize today? Please, can you indicate? Okay, I don't see any. Moving on, pre-decision scrutiny. I will now move to the cabinet papers for our pre-decision scrutiny. The first item is item number 4, which is the short-term service resilience framework. This item is for immediate implementation. It's for decision, and the chief exec, Karen Jones, is the reporting officer. Can I ask Karen Jones to come in, please?
Thank you, Chair. With your agreement, I'll just be very brief in summarising the main purpose of the report. It's essentially to let members know how demands have increased on services over recent months, but also as well to set out some of the service resilience pressures that's now creating in terms of our overall workforce that's available to deal with that increased demand. So very briefly, as members will know, the government moved to level 0 on the 7th of August of this year. And what came with that then was a lot more social mixing across our communities. By the 24th of October, the number of cases locally had risen to 1,037.6 cases per 100,000 population, with almost 1 in 3 people testing positive at that time. It has fallen back since then. So at the point that I prepared the report, it was 653.8 cases per 100,000 population, but it's still hovering just under 500 cases as we sit here today. So the COVID rates across our communities remain very, very high. That increase in community transmission has had a further impact then on the demands we've seen on services. So, for example, our Test, Trace, Protect service has got very, very busy again. We've seen further impacts across the health and social care system. And also as well, we're continuing to operate under COVID risk assessments right across our service areas. And that's affecting the way we can provide services and sometimes the number of people that we've got available to provide those services as well. So COVID itself continues to have quite a significant impact across the council. But what we're seeing as well is now the impact of 20 months of living through the pandemic. So more people coming forward with needs and sometimes more complex needs. And in some service areas, we've got some backlogs that we need to be given attention to because we've had to set some work aside in order to be able to deal with the priorities that the Welsh Government has asked us to take on board. And then on a more positive note, we've also got some very exciting projects as well that we've had funding for that we want to take forward. So you can imagine from what I've said that there's quite a lot more demand in the service at the moment. But for various reasons, the amount of people that we've got available to service that demand has diminished slightly over recent months. There's a number of reasons for that I've set out in the report. But what we are experiencing in some areas is some challenges in recruiting to those vacancies because the local economy at the moment has got a lot more jobs in there, and sometimes some of that work is better paid than employment that's offered in the public services. So we're in a situation where we've got increased demand, we've got slightly less people to deal with it. And as I said, we've got backlogs of work as well where we need to increase beyond our normal capacity levels in order to make headway in those areas as well. So this report, Chair, is saying that we need to take some immediate steps to try and fill those vacancies, but also to bring in additional capacity so that we can make sure that our workforce is supported over the winter months. We've got some very tired people, as you will all know, around the system, so it's very important that we look after the people that we've currently got within our services, and I know members absolutely want us to be able to do that. We have got an ongoing significant role in protecting the NHS and the public health response around COVID, but we really need to get on with a recruitment campaign to bring more people into the council's workforce. And for the first time in a long time, we're able to offer those roles externally. So I'm hoping the local people from across the county borough will come forward and want to join us as well. So what the report is asking for, Chair, is for members to note that we are dealing with those pressures, that there is a need to increase resilience over the winter period. You'll see in the next report that there is an underspend at the moment within the current cash limit that you've already approved. And what I'm asking you to do is to approve more flexibility to use £2 million of that underspend in the service resilience framework, so we can get on with bringing those additional staff into our services for the reasons that I've explained orally in my presentation and is set out in the body of the report. I know we had quite a session last week, Chair, where we went through a lot of this in more detail, but I'm sure if any member wants to ask any questions, either myself or my colleagues would be very happy to respond.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I don't think there's any questions, but I think members wish to comment on the particular report. So can I ask Councillor Susan Paddison, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I have no questions due to the fact that the seminar that we had was absolutely first class, and we were all brought up to date with the current pressures and what officers, directors, heads of service we're all going to be doing about it. So the recommendations here, I have no problem in supporting the recommendations, especially seen as on page 13. It does actually say that the Chief Exec will report back to the political leadership as and when things change. So I'm perfectly in support of it, and I don't need to ask any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Paddison. Any other members wish to come in? No? Okay, so I'll take you straight to the recommendation then, which is on page 15 and 16. I will need a proposer and a seconder for it to go to Cabinet, please.
I move, Chair.
I need a seconder, please.
I'll second, Chair.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Okay, moving on then. Item number 5, which is the monthly budget monitoring report. Mr. Jones, is there anything you wish to add, or shall I go straight to questions?
If I may, Chair, if I could give members just an overview as to what the report is saying, just for clarity.
Yes, please.
So this is the budget monitoring report till the end of September, Chair, and what we're currently predicting is that by the end of March, the Council will have an underspend of approximately £8.3 million. The reasons are all set out in the report, but just for some headlines, the Chief Executive has just outlined the position in terms of vacancies across the Council. So where we've got vacant posts, we just can't fill. When we set the budget, we had a huge level of uncertainty in terms of where we would be with the COVID hardship fund. So we included a greater than normal level of contingency, which at this point in time, I'm predicting that we're not going to need. Thanks to the great work done by Anne Hinder and her team, we're collecting more council tax income than we anticipated. And also there's good news around the fact that less people are actually needing council tax support than we thought. So for all of these reasons, we're predicting an 8.3 million underspend, but this is not forecast to be a recurring underspend, because we do anticipate that these vacant posts will be able to fill, and some of the issues around social care sector, hopefully with some of the initiatives that we're putting in place, we'll be able to actually start delivering on those services. And what the report is then asking, Chair, is for permission to not use the 3.1 million that we originally planned to from general reserves. It's asking for permission to put £2 million into the service resilient framework, as the Chief Executive has just outlined, and then to put £2 million back into specific reserves, Chair. So that's an overview. I hope that's helpful for members.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Councillor Nigel Hunt, please.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was glad to read that there's going to be a 3.1 million transfer from reserves is no longer required from our general reserve. So our general reserves now will be sitting at over £20 million. Being as a lot of councils, most councils in Wales believe that the general reserves really should be between 3 and 5% of their net revenue expenditure. Is that a net revenue expenditure is around about 300 million? Is that right, Hugh? It's 316 million, Councillor Hunt. 316 million. So 15 million would be at the top end from what most councils in Wales would regard. 15 million would be sufficient for our reserves. Is that about right?
Yes, an individual choice in terms of council's appetite to risk, Councillor Hunt. But as you say, yes, the Wales audit guidance does suggest that general reserves are prudent level would be 5% of the budget, yes.
Yeah.
But
so we're significantly higher than that. And the balance between our general reserves and the council tax levels that we set, I think, is ski-whiff. I mean, we advocated last year quite prudently that we should have had a tax freeze, a council tax freeze. And I'm just pointing that out now, that we were told in March that we were going to be taking 3.1 million out, and now it's been confirmed that we're not. So I'm just highlighting the fact that the level of reserves that we had is quite exorbitant. And again, I think the balance is wrong, personally, between the level of reserves and the council tax that we set.
Point of order. This is
sorry.
Point of order, Chair.
Who's this? Sorry, can I?
Carol.
Carol, yes. You called a point of order on what ground, Carol?
Yeah, this isn't a council tax setting meeting. I don't really think that we should be discussing where that is set in this meeting. We haven't set the council tax, and it will be set moving forward. This was a position we've just found ourselves in, and we are trying to now redress some of the issues that we have had, and there'll be plenty of time to discuss the council tax at a later date. But if we can stick to the agenda for today's meeting, please.
Can I just clarify, Councillor Clement, he is referring to the reserves.
The general reserves, Carol.
Yes, he's saying that he thinks the level of council tax is wrong compared to the reserves. Thanks.
Right, okay, that's a comment, by the way. Okay, can I ask Mr. Mike Shaw that the point of order raised by the cabinet member, is it valid, or how would you suggest in terms of the legal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As such, it's not so much a point of order, because a point of order would need to point to the procedural rules, or indeed a rule of law which had been infringed. I'm not sure that either of those apply here, but of course the point I think that may be made is that the debate needs to remain relevant to what is being considered here today.
Okay, thank you. Nigel, so your comment or your question about reserve, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, if I could, I'd just like to ask another question, which is about the waste disposal as well.
Yes.
In that, they say about the cardboard and food waste is now, it's not incurring cost for disposal, it's generating income. Now, when I've seen the recycling in Aberafan, it's coming in a single van, in a cage. We're not, so like cardboard, food, glass, everything is going into one cage. So I'm wondering then, how is that being sorted? And are we losing revenue because it's generating income? Because the reason I've been told that the recycling is done in a van is because we don't have the vehicles. So I'm just a little bit concerned on that, because we, as I said, it's saying about the waste disposal underspend and the fact that things that are generating income instead of incurring costs. So I just wanted to ask if I could have more information on that as well.
No problem. Is Nicola Pierce?
Yes, Chair.
I'm here. Nicola, would you mind taking this question of Councillor?
No problem at all. In terms of the waste industry, it's very volatile. So the price of cardboard, plastics, glass changes frequently. So we can go to a position where we are having to pay people to take the material away from us, to a position where we are securing an income from those recyclables. So it's very volatile. We do have pockets within the county borough where there is lack of cooperation, dare I say it, from some residents, and we are actually undertaking a pilot scheme in one of those areas, which may well be close to the member who's asked the question, to try and encourage those residents to actually increase their recycling, so that we can achieve the targets the Welsh Government has set. And we circulated to members recently that we'd actually exceeded the targets in the figures this year, and we were one of very few authorities to make a significant improvement in our performance. So we are heading in the right direction. Last year, unfortunately, we didn't achieve the target, but as I say, this year we did. But as I say, the price of recyclables is very volatile and moves very quickly, so we we could be in a position of surplus in terms of budget in the waste area and move quickly to a position of deficit. So it's a very difficult sort of area of work to model and anticipate changes. So I hope that answers Councillor Hunt's question.
Councillor Hunt, you're okay with that response?
Yeah, I'm fine with that side. Thanks,
No
Nicola.
problem. Thank you. Moving on, then I can see Susan Pattison, please.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't have this question in the pre-brief, but it's come to mind since the debate has been going on. I apologise, Hugh, that I didn't submit this question in advance, but if we were in a happy position to be able to fill all the vacancies that we have for our staff, and we heard in the seminar that a lot of our staff are under immense pressure because we are not up to full strength with our staff. That would make a significant difference to our payroll budget, I presume. Do you know roughly how much that would equate to?
I wouldn't want to put a value on it, Councillor Pattison, but we did
Is it
hear.
considerable? Is it?
Oh yes, we did hear in the
Yeah,
seminar last week that we're running with around 200 vacancies across the council, not all full time, but
Yeah.
if you can imagine, if we filled all those 200 vacancies, the costs would increase significantly.
Yeah, and we just have to bear that in mind, really,
Yes.
to know that yes, we're underspent, but it's basically a lot of that on the staff budget is that because we haven't been able to fill those vacancies, and other councils are in similar positions, and it's been explained by the chief exec that it's a bit of a buyer's market at the moment, and if we were in a happy position of being able to relieve our staff problems because they are considerable, it would impact on our budget.
Yes, you're
Yeah,
quite
lovely.
right.
Okay,
And that was the point I was making about it not being a recurring underspend, because if we do fill those vacancies, then obviously the costs will go up and the underspend will disappear. So
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the question.
Okay, I don't see any further indication on this item. So the recommendation is on page 27. Can I get a proposal and a seconder for this to go to cabinet, please?
I'll move it, Chair.
Okay, seconder, please.
Good, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is the capital budget monitoring. This is again Hugh Jones is the reporting officer. Is there anything you wish to add to the report, Hugh, or shall I go straight to questions?
Just very briefly, Chair, this is the capital programme monitoring report as at the end of September. It sets out a proposed budget of £82.4 million, which is £2.3 million less than the previously approved budget, with a schedule of changes detailed in Appendix 2 of the report. And it also sets out the fact that we've incurred £30.6 million of expenditure at the end of September, which is 37% delivery of the capital programme, which is pretty much on track when you consider the delays between actually delivering projects and spending money. So that's all I wanted to say, Chair. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones. I don't think it's a question, but it's a point to be clarified, I think, for as Suzanne wanted. Councillor Pattison, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. Hugh, yes, I think I'm grasping what the meaning of the words in the report. But I just wanted clarification. When you say on page 36, and it's under changes to the approved budget, the first bullet point under item number 4, and again on the third bullet point, the phrase is used has been a certain amount has been reprofiled into the 2022-23 to reflect the profile of the works required, and then also again on the third bullet point. Now I'm taking that to mean that the works were not able to proceed as planned, and that then the money has gone on to the next year. I'm only asking because if a member of the public were to read that report, they may not. I mean, we all can grasp, I think, what is being said. But just for clarification, does that mean exactly what I said?
Short answer to that is yes. Yes, that's exactly what
okay. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else wish to ask any questions or have any comment you wish to make on this report? Okay, I don't see any. So if I now take you to the recommendation which are on page 38. Can I get a proposer and a seconder, please, for this to go to Cabinet?
I'll propose again, Chair, if you like.
Okay.
Second, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's go back to the scrutiny agenda. 2 seconds, please. Okay, we are on the Cabinet Scrutiny Committee agenda, item number 5. Urgent items, there are none. So what I would like to thank you all for attending today's meeting, and I now bring this meeting to a close. Thank you very much.